Welcome to Shooting the Shift with Marilyn and Elizabeth. These light warriors, both native New Yorkers, walk their walk, talk their talk, and keep the real in the deal. This dynamic duo joined forces to assist you through your transformational journey one step at a time, empowering you with spiritual tools you can use in your daily life. Each show begins as a conversation creating an opening for spiritual connection. There are never any scripts, and Spirit is always illuminating the way. And that's when the shift hits the fan. The magical messages of the ancestors, spirit guides, and Gaia are respected, honored, and always given sacred space to communicate. Join Marilyn and Elizabeth as they shake shift up and do what they do best, speak from their hearts.
Welcome, everybody, to Shooting the Shift with Marilyn Maldonado. That's me. Elizabeth Lindsay, my beautiful co-host and sacred sister, will be in the UK for the entire month of June. Wow, the joy and adventures she will have to share with us upon her return. I'm really excited, to hear the stories when she gets back, and I'm sure she'll share it with all of us. So welcome. Yes, welcome back. So today, I will be sharing what it means for me to be in the role of curandera in my practice. It took me many years to be able to accept the title curandera, which means medicine woman, as my sacred practice. I am honored to carry the energy of the curandera. I feel truly blessed in that. And I bow to my creator, my ancestors, spirit guides, totem animals, universal vibrational frequencies of love and light, medicine people, the earth, fire, wind, water, and all who stand with me on this journey in full gratitude. I am aware that my practice is always evolving, and am in deep gratitude to all who work in love and light and support me in my medicine path. My connection with spirit is always expanding and constantly evolving. It's always flowing. In my journey as a curandera, I have recognized my mission of bringing the frequency medicine work into a larger forum for the expansion and the awakening of the energy of the purest love and inner peace within each person. I love teaching people how to reconnect with their soul's desire, how to become proactive in their daily lives, and teaching methods of self-awareness for the release of self-judgment, and also assisting others in identifying the belief systems that no longer serve their higher purpose. I honor the process of doing the individual external and internal clearing to transmute the excess baggage and distortions that have been collected over time. I have and continue to do deep, deep work to heal and fully understand that I am still a work in progress. In my processing, I have learned that my medicine is meant to be shared and not to be hidden. I believe that we must do the work to clear out the baggage to allow the inner light to surface. That we must be committed to processing our experiences and stepping out of our own way to allow space for our individual medicine to surface. My medicine includes working with universal vibrational frequencies and connecting soul to soul while creating transformational shifts. I channel encoded soul messages depicted as symbols to speak directly to the soul. The encoded symbols and messages assist the individual in shifting with ease and grace. As a curandera, I have learned to accept the downloads. The downloads are channeled during dream time, during sessions, in sitting meditations, while talking with someone, and other times when I am in a walking meditation. It is difficult to put into words what my work looks like and feels like, but I can assure you that it is transformational. And I, for one, understand and recognize the importance of doing our internal, external, and internal processing. the individual external work, the individual internal processing, exposing and clearing out the excess baggage and distortions that have been collected over time, sometimes over lifetimes. I cannot stress enough the importance of the practice of making room for the inner light to surface through the exposure of the shadow work, which is acknowledging, reviewing, accepting, and integrating all parts of us so that nothing within us can divide us from our inner knowing. It's so important to integrate all the parts of us. I do acknowledge the importance of being a clear channel in the practice, and I'm committed to processing my experiences and stepping out of my own way to allow space for my medicine to continue to evolve. And that takes a lot of practice because, like I said, I am a work in progress. And when I first started to deeply explore energy work, it was after my daughter's passing in 2001. I couldn't understand why God would allow such a tragic thing to happen to our daughter. How could our Creator not have saved our angry at the Creator and in the deepest pain I have ever known? I kept feeling the presence of my daughter and her caressing my hair like she used to, and I thought that I was losing my mind. I wanted answers, but I had none. The day of my daughter's burial, a stranger knocked at the door. And I had been speaking to God and demanding to know that my daughter was safe. I needed to know. I needed some answers. I was lost and needed answers because I didn't want to go on. And this stranger knocked on the door and walked through the crowd of people in our home directly to me to tell me that he was sorry for his poor timing, that he had been in New Jersey but had an urgency to leave, to come to speak with me. He held my hand and told me that he had witnessed my daughter's spirit rising up and out of her body the day of the accident. From his balcony, he saw this. He told me he couldn't explain what his eyes had seen, and all he could do was pray. And he prayed the entire night, he told me. And the very next day, he told me he went to temple to speak of his experience because he could not explain what he had witnessed and wanted answers. I knew from the knock on the door that he was sent as a messenger to answer my call. And I can't tell you how I knew that. There was something about the knock, and there was so much noise in the environment, and yet I could hear that knock through the noise. And my best friend invited me to Omega in May of 2001. And I hesitated, but I kept hearing the morning dove outside my window and could feel the presence of my daughter, and I didn't want to go on. As I considered going to Omega or not, I could hear my daughter's voice clearly saying, "Yes, Ma, yes." I agreed to go to Omega. I needed to understand how it was possible that I could hear and feel my daughter when she was not here in the physical, as though she were. When I arrived at Omega, I sat through various workshops. I walked into every workshop without knowing what I had signed up for. The morning dove sang every morning, every day at Omega. It was as though it was with me on my travels, guiding me. After attending several workshops, I sat in a large room, and Char Margolis, I might be mispronouncing her name, but she's a psychic medium. She walked into this room, and she was going to do readings. I sat and listened, and at the end of her readings, well, When she completed her reading, she thanked everyone. And in that very moment, I felt my daughter's presence and felt the urgency to stand up. I stood up and said, "Do you have a message for me?" And Char Margolis looked at me and continued to stare at me. Then she began talking about my dad and told me he had a young child with him. She just kept staring at me, then finally said, I think she's your daughter." She began speaking really fast, just like my daughter would. It was like my daughter's energy was flowing through her. She told me things that only my daughter and I knew and described several events. She also told me that my daughter was She also told me, I'm sorry, I get a little emotional when I speak of this. I knew, that it was my daughter's energy. And she told me that my daughter would stroke my hair, that my daughter wanted me to know that I wasn't going crazy. She told me that my daughter was going to guide me. And this shifted me. It truly did. It shifted me. I knew for sure in that very moment that my daughter was with me and that our bond would never be broken. Not even death could separate us. I was crying throughout the entire reading. Everyone in the room was affected and many walked out crying. Over several months, my daughter would send messengers, really truly messengers with messages. And I knew some, but others were perfect strangers. But the messages always arrived at critical moments. I was fragile and wanted my daughter physically back with me. I just needed her physically back with me. I searched the internet wanting to understand more. And no matter to search for holistic work, I kept getting Reiki. It just kept coming up in my searches, and I could feel my daughter's yes. So I decided I would try it, and Reiki changed my life. I was able to connect and relax in ways that I never thought possible. I was able to tap into a deeper connection. I believe that completing my Reiki training was the first time I allowed myself to connect with the energies that I have felt all my life, but was resistant to open up to. Reiki was becoming more acceptable and people could talk about it in the open. Learning Reiki provided me with the opportunity to stretch out of my discomfort around the so-called taboo and explore my abilities beyond Reiki. I wasn't as hesitant in allowing the messages to come through me and to share them with others. The more I would work on others, the more I was able to access different levels. I was always and still am in awe of the experiences each and every time I do this beautiful work. And now my work has expanded, so it's so much more than Reiki. As a young child, I saw images and knew things, but was always frightened because these types of experiences were frowned upon in my immediate family. Energy work, messages from the beyond were considered brujeria, witchcraft. That's what they called it, and no one dared to speak of it out loud. And although both my maternal and paternal grandmothers were medicine women, the medicine work was never spoken of in our homes. My maternal grandmother never officially practiced her craft due to societal assimilation. I remember her being a prayer warrior and seer. She always knew things before anyone ever told her. My grandmother and I were very close, even when we were separated by thousands of miles. We always knew that distance would never separate us because we were forever connected. 9 years before her passing, she told me that I had been given and what they call it is el don. And that means the medicine by our lineage. My grandmother told me that she could feel it and see it in me and blessed me in that moment. My paternal grandmother practiced her medicine, and although her practice was by word of mouth, her days and nights were filled with clients bringing their folding chairs and patiently waiting their turn. She practiced her medicine in Puerto Rico. And when she arrived here in New York, she already had a following. As a young child, whenever we would visit her, it was always a brief visit because she had to be of service. She sacrificed a lot, but she held the belief that her work was needed, and so she dedicated her life to it. It was her calling. I was always curious about her and the people who lined up to see her. Her work was never mentioned in my home because my dad, as a Catholic, believed the work to be taboo. Although I did not spend much time with my paternal grandmother, I have experienced her presence, and she has spoken to me after her passing and continues to guide me to this day. So I'd like you to stay tuned in, and I will return after a brief break to continue our discussion of the curandera.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Welcome back to Shooting the Shift as I continue our discussion of the curandera. As a curandera, my intention is always to assist the sitter who is before me in their rebalancing and in their reshifting for their expansion. I believe that when a person is aware, ready, and willing to let go of their suffering, they will find someone like me to assist them in their deeper connection to themselves. And no session is ever the same because no person is the same. The experience will be what the sitter is ready to experience in the moment. So even if you come for one session, right, you've changed somewhat, so your session will feel different as well. And so what does it mean to be a curandera? She's a woman who has sensitivities that connect with others in a way that cannot be explained. She sees beyond the surface and is able to connect at the subconscious level of another. She speaks to the soul and retrieves information that is known by the sitter, but not currently acknowledged until the connection is made. She sees beyond the veil, beyond the human cover-ups. She has access to the sitter's desires and expectations. The curandera sees the things that sometimes others do not wish to see, but that are necessary for the unfolding of the soul that sits before her. She speaks the language of each soul, for each is different in its energy. She holds the sacred space of open communication and connection in the frequencies of compassion, love, and light. She shares the messages received with love and compassion. She utilizes the frequencies to assist her in transmuting the toxins. She is dedicated to her practice. She is the curandera. I put that together because I felt that the explanation of a curandera is really important at times, right? And I believe that I found some of it, and then the rest of it just came in. So I am thankful and grateful for all the pieces that came together for me. So I also want to speak on what the sitter, what happens with the sitter, right? And the sitter is a client, right? It's the client, it's the person that sits before you. So sitters usually show up when they feel a need to be healed, or they want to feel better, or to have a better sense of what is not working in their lives. Or they may feel disconnected and want to change that energy. There are so many reasons, but usually the strongest desire is that they want to walk out differently from when they arrived. And when I use the word heal or healing, it's about rebalancing the energetic frequencies that are activated and causing distortions in the body and the mind. So to be healed is to feel rebalanced and recentered. It's the ability to feel good again. And that's what I consider healing, right? When you're able to shift that energy, when you're able to move past those fears or those thoughts that keep you from your joy. And in my practice, I found that checking in with the energy of the sitter always makes it easier to connect and communicate with the soul. I'm able to connect with what I call the soul of the sitter that the body has to share, and its struggle of holding the energy down. The story that is ready to surface, to be revealed, and to be transformed. Once the energy is felt by the sitter, the shifting begins. The sitter is able to release the charge of the story energetically with the assistance of the guided work, because in that moment, the body is able to connect to the frequency of the story at an energetic level, to allow the surrendering and release of the energetic charge. Now, when this is happening, the sitter doesn't always know or understand what it is that is happening. Or, sometimes people fall asleep, through the process. And that's their body's way of saying, okay, I'm going to allow this, but I need to kind of like step back. And that happens sometimes. And other times people feel a lot of different energies. So during the sessions, there may be a cathartic release, such as a scream, a cry, movement of the body, statements made, even a song can come in, a message, or feeling sometimes of like pins and needles moving through the body. It's just energy moving through the body, or other signals, come up for the individual. Sometimes they see colors, symbols, all kinds of different things. And so they express that to me at times. I can see that for them as well at times. And it's a release and a feeling of peace that follows. There are no regrets, no shame, no blame, no judgment around the story or the energy. There's only love and honoring of the release of the energy of the story and receiving the message that it came to deliver. Because the important piece here is that you're able to receive the message, and that the message is a frequency that then is held inside of you for the reconnecting of the self. The practice of surrendering and releasing the emotional, energetic charge story allows the body the freedom of transmuting the energetic charge and creating a new message that is brought in by spirit to fill the newly empty space. The energy work that is also simultaneously happening creates a feeling of peace, of love, of safety, that the sitter is able to experience and hold in their energetic field. I am always in awe of, in every session, the messages received and the ones encoded are power-filled, and the sitter is able to walk away with a new way of experiencing themselves in the world. You know, they're lighter, they feel freer. There's joy in them. But I will say that not everyone experiences firework moments, but they all feel lighter, freer, and happier than when they arrived. They tend to sleep better. They tend to keep the positive momentum longer. They also tend to remember how good it feels to feel good again, and that it is possible for them. And that's important, because sometimes people think that it's not possible for them to feel joy or to feel happiness. And so that's a beautiful thing when they're able to feel that and to know that. I must also say that one session is wonderful because it shows you that it is possible for you to feel really, really good and connected and peaceful in your own body, and that you have it in you to make it happen. However, if you really want to shift your stuff, you need to be proactive in your process. You need to practice and remember what you learned from your session. You must make it a practice to be aware of your thinking. The new practice creates new pathways, new ways of being and thinking in the world. Practice will create a new momentum that feeds a new frequency of feel-good moments and memories. I recommend multiple sessions as needed because we have a lifetime of collected stuff that is still alive and actively stealing our joy. It is important to learn how to take charge and love yourself and to have compassion for yourself. To allow the thinking mind to not have control. So it's important to be able to take charge of that, but to do it with love and compassion. Always with love and compassion of the self. So sessions and practice go together, you know? It's like a session without the active practice will last approximately 2 weeks, and you will retreat to your old patterns and behaviors because you haven't activated the new frequencies. You need to activate the new frequencies. You need to practice. Remember that the old patterns and behaviors are stronger because you have practiced and exercised them all your life. They tend to be on autopilot. So it is important to be proactive and not reactive, to be kind and gentle and loving with yourself in this practice. But to always be conscious and aware of your thinking brain, right? What is it that you're thinking? And if you're feeling a certain way, if you're feeling joy and all of a sudden you're not, then there was a thought that came in that changed that feeling place. And so looking for that is important, right? That's being proactive in your life. Now, the sitter rarely goes back to the original starting point because the session has shown them how good they can feel. But over time, without sessions of practicing the new ways of being in the world or of not being an active participant in their own lives, nothing will really change. Because it's important to recognize that we have to deactivate, right? To deactivate the energy that isn't serving us. It's like spinning wheels in the muck. No matter what we do in life, if we are not active participants in our own lives, then we remain in the energy of the unconscious old patterns and behaviors, and nothing changes. We must be proactive and aware of our thinking and feelings so as to deactivate an unneeded energy. If you are unaware, you cannot change it. So it is truly important to be able to become aware of what it is that you're thinking and how it is that you're feeling. Now, the sitters is usually reconnected to their belief systems, as well as how it affects their decision-making skills. And it's important to, for the sitter to be okay in recognizing that. Because whenever we as humans feel a dis-ease in the body, we tend to respond to connect more and more to the current of the energetic feeling. We usually do not go to the question, what was I thinking that caused me to feel this way? What shifted in me in this moment? Nope, we don't do that. We tend to look outside of ourselves to find the answer. But the answer is always inside of us. We need to dare to ask ourselves the questions to discover the energy of the belief that is causing the emotional dis-ease in the body. Yeah. We may feel discomfort whenever our energetic vibrational frequency is out of balance. We may not know that the reason for our discomfort is due to an imbalance in our energetic vibrational frequency, but the symptoms are present. In other words, when we are disconnected from what we are believing, but the activated belief or thought is one of toxic energy, it causes feelings of discomfort, of dis-ease in the body, self-judgment, of anxiety, of overwhelming thoughts, and more. In identifying the activated thought, this helps to create a space to acknowledge the feeling, to determine if it is real or irrational in nature. And I'm really here to tell you that we can change our focus and thereby change the charge of the presenting energy in any moment of time. Changing our focus to our heart center. Our focus on our heart center and creating thoughts that generate the emotions of joy, compassion, gratitude, and love. It can take you out of the overstimulated, reactive emotional state of the thoughts of the past experiences that are activated in the present. I know it's a mouthful, but it will bring you back to the present moment. Remember that what you focus upon grows. We feed it and call it with our focus. So focus on all that is good. I consider my practice a living, breathing testament of all that is possible, for we are more powerful than we know. If we recognize that the power is in our thinking brain and that what we think matters, then we are moving in the frequency of our higher power. We need to remember that if we allow our thinking brain to constantly work from the energy of autopilot, we are giving our power over to our past experiences. We have the power to change the way we think and what we allow to be our conversations. And yes, it will take time and active practice to readjust our thinking brain, but it is possible. So stay tuned, and I will return after a quick break.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
If I could be you,
and you could be me,
for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back to Shooting the Shift as I continue our discussion of the Curandera. So as I left off, we were talking about the power of the thinking mind and the ability that we have to shift that power, right, of the thinking and the focus, and what that is that we're focusing upon, to be conscious and aware so that we can change how we're feeling, because actively change how we're feeling, because usually we're on autopilot, and when we're on autopilot, what takes place is that we go immediately to an emotion that we are probably not even aware that is being brought in. And so it's important to be proactive, proactively practicing in the moment means that when we recognize that we are drifting back into the autopilot thinking mode, that we bring ourselves back into the present moment, asking ourselves the questions. What was I thinking that caused me to feel this way? What shifted in me in this moment? And we need to be patient, and we need to wait for the answer. And we need to be kind and loving with ourselves. And if we can't receive the answers in that very moment, what we can do, though, is reshift our focus and find good things to put in its place so we can start to feel good again, so that we can start to feel better. This is how we create the shifting, right? We remove it from the autopilot place to the I'm in charge place of how I feel today or how I feel in this moment. We love ourselves, and we do this with kind and gentleness. We don't do this, with like what I call the big stick, beating yourself up, or self-criticism. That will never work. You will continue to re-traumatize yourself. We have to trust that we can do this, and we just need to do it, in small steps. So we catch ourselves sometimes, and maybe when we're catching ourselves, we aren't, we're in the midst of saying something because we started to feel a certain way, but we really don't want to start feeling that way because it doesn't feel good. If in midpoint we're able to say, I don't think that way anymore, and I don't see things that way anymore. I know who I am, and I trust in my process, and I know that all is well with me, and I know that all is working for me, for my benefit. It's not happening to me, it's happening for me. If we can have those conversations, and sometimes people say, oh my goodness, you talk to yourself, you say those kinds of things to yourself, what? And I say, yes, do it. Because, we have been so programmed to think from the outside and not from the inside. And it's important for us to focus more on how it is that we're feeling and why it is that we're feeling the way we're feeling. Because usually it's a thought. Usually it's something from the past that seeps in and brings in an energy that that has such a charge. And we just aren't aware of it. And then we start responding to that charge without understanding it. But if we can focus within, if we can just say, okay, I got this. We've got this. We know. We understand. We're good, right? It's bringing back all those parts of us that, we kind of like tossed aside and said, oh yeah, well, that's, that anger part of me, well, that can't come along with me. That's not a good part of me. No, I say, welcome that angry part of you. Welcome that anger. That anger sometimes serves a high purpose, right? It's knowing how to use it. It's knowing when to use it. And recognizing that every emotion that you have ever had has gotten you this far. And so we must bless those emotions, and we must bless ourselves through this process and not negate any of them, and just integrate all of those beautiful parts of us that kept us focused and kept us whole and kept us here, to do this work, to continue to just help others to shift and to help ourselves to shift as well, right? Because I know that in this work, when I work with others, it's really not just about the shifting of the other. It's also the shifting of myself, because I can feel it. When I'm working on another, I can feel it. I can feel the connection. I can feel the connection that's being made between myself and the sitter. I can feel that connection. And I know that they are receiving that connection, and they're becoming more open and aware of their own power, of their own light, of that they have the right to be loved fully, and that it starts with them, because this is so important. It's so important to remember that it all starts with us. We are the ones that need to take the steps to try to figure out what happened. Why do I feel the way I feel? Why am I feeling this way? What emotion, what energetic frequency is riding through me that's bringing me to this sadness, or to this anger or rage, or, confusion or anxiety, whatever the energy is? It's important to be able to say, I choose to revoke this energy. I choose to release this energy from my cellular memory. I choose, because I have the power to choose to do. I can move this energy and transmute it and turn it into love and compassion and self-honoring and self-respecting energy. Because this is truly an important part and an important role for us to acknowledge who we are and who we came here to be. And yes, it is difficult at first, because our mind has been practicing the autopilot method for so very long. But it doesn't mean we can't change the pattern. It means we must be dedicated to being present in our lives and in our thinking process. It means we need to practice being kind, compassionate, loving, tender, understanding, and respectful of ourselves through the process all of the time. And this is what I call the sacred medicine way, right? Because we are tuned in. We are tuned into how we're feeling. We're tuned into what is happening around us. We're tuned into the stimulus, but we are conscious of it. Instead of being unconscious of this, instead of not, just not being aware of it, but feeling it. I really think they're just being activated to be able to say, I see this. I'm going to be proactive in my practicing of how I feel and how I'm thinking, so that I can change it. Because this is the way of change. If we can't understand it, sometimes it's really difficult to change it. We can just feel it. And sometimes that's what we need to do. Sometimes we just need to feel our way through it. Sometimes there aren't any words connected to it. Sometimes it's just a feeling. And sometimes it's okay for us to just allow that processing, feel it fully, and then allow it to just move, to the place where it can tell you what it came to teach you, what it came to show you. Because you are more powerful than you know. What happens is that we have forgotten. We have forgotten our power. We have forgotten that. And I know that there's a lot of things that are going on in the world today. And sometimes we say, oh, there's so much chaos. There's so much crazy in the world, and I just don't know. And then it's almost like that energy just starts to connect with us. And then it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And, my practice is I can see it. I see it. I see the energy. I see the frequencies. I see, the disturbance, the distortions, the chaos. I see all of that. I can feel all of that. But I choose because I believe that I have the power to choose. I choose to focus on all that is good in the world. I focus on bringing love frequencies in. I choose to bring the light beams in through the darkest of energies. I choose that. I choose to focus on all that is good. I pray over all events for clarity, for a better understanding, for unity, for connection. All of these things, we can do this because we have this beautiful power within us. We have to remember that what we focus on grows. So if we choose to focus on all the things that bring fear to us, then we will live in fear. And if we believe that nothing good will ever happen because there's just too much chaos, then I think that that's what's going to happen. And I think that as a collective, if we can come together with the understanding that, yes, I understand. I'm not negating this. I'm not saying it's not happening. But what I'm saying is that there's so much more positive things happening in the world. And I'm going to pull all that energy there. I'm going to put all that energy into that beautiful, space that is hurting right now. I'm going to pour that love into that hurting space, into that, chaos. I'm going to pour love. I'm going to continue to pour love. I'm going to continue to pour love until I can feel the love oozing out. Because it's so important for us to recognize that we have the power to do just that. And I know that some people may say, oh my goodness, what is she talking about? And what I'm saying is trust in yourself and believe in your power, because we are co-creators. We can shift things. When all we see is all the negativity that is out in the world, and we can't see all the beauty and the expansion of all the love in the world, then as a collective, the focus is not on all that is good. And so it's important for us to shift, to recognize, even in the moment when we're seeing something that is horrific, that just, just brings us to tears, that we're able to process that we're able to send prayers, that we're able to connect with that energy and to say, I understand. I understand the energy. And I also understand the fear that's behind all this crazy activities, this crazy, chaotic, energetic frequencies that are out there. And I am in this moment choosing to focus upon all that is good and all that is of love. And all that can bring us together as a people. Because I know that we have the ability and the power to do just that. I have a prayer that I wrote, and I'm going to say it in this moment. That I want to share with everyone, okay? So to all that is divinely inspired, we ask for the flow of ease and grace of the energetic supercharged frequencies as they rise to the surface. May the energetic supercharged frequencies move swiftly out of us to be transmuted into healing universal energies for all. As the frequencies create a new vibrational current of inner peace, self-love, self-compassion, self-care, creating these new frequencies flowing within us all. We accept and activate these new frequencies of inner peace, self-love, self-compassion, self-care, and self-awareness. We reclaim our power and take our seat at the table in our complete and full authority. Blessed be. Beautiful, beautiful ones. Thank you so much for spending time with me, for taking time out of your day to listen. Thank you for being with me. I'm thankful for all the beautiful sacred ones who are here in this beautiful energetic space, assisting me as I speak. I feel honored and blessed to be able to speak of these beautiful frequencies that move through each and every one of us, that we can shift into once we focus upon them. I am truly thankful and grateful for each and every one of you. And I really recommend, right, that anyone who is, like feeling the trauma, right, the chaos, the anxieties, the overwhelming feelings, that they speak to, have someone that you can talk to, someone who's going to listen to you and not judge you. Because that is truly important as well, right? Who we choose to share our story with, so that we can dismantle the story, so that we can dismantle the energies that continue to vibrate within us. And so it's important sometimes to go and, seek healing as well. And healing is just like I said earlier, it's about rebalancing the energetic frequencies that are, distorting your thinking and your feeling. Because you have a right to be happy. You have a right to claim that. And you can be that. So I want to thank everybody for showing up. And next week I'll be back and we'll be talking about a totally different topic. And I hope that you enjoyed this one. I really do. I hope that you got something out of it. Next week, we're going to be talking about the release of the promise, the contract and the vows that we have made in this lifetime and in possibly other lifetimes as well. So we'll be talking about that next week. And so next week as well, if you're interested in, having a mini session or a spiritual coaching session on the radio, you can call me at 1-202-570-7057. So next week, if you're interested in having like a mini session, you can do that. I'm available for that. Just to know, what it feels like, right? That would be beautiful. And I thank you all. I send you all blessings, love, and light. And thank you. Thank you again. Bye now.